What's up, TSO and Hard at Work? We are back again, first time in a month. Feels like it's been forever, but now we are finally in Hard at Work Season 1. And we're joined tonight by Greatness, who is Danny, and Brenton, who's known as Raider Red. What's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
It's been a long time. Glad to be back here. There's a lot we can touch on here tonight.
Yeah, we are finally back through Week 1, playing the last few games right now, waiting on the sim. We should be into Week 2 within the hour. So tonight we're going to touch on Week 1 and flow into Week 2. So tonight we're going to start off with a few games that we've picked out, and I'm going to start off with a little audible from the pre-show call, and I'm going to touch on the Chiefs versus Texans. So I seen a lot of chat going on in the chat box during this game, and I felt the Texans thought they played a good game, but knew the Chiefs just come out and rocked them. I remember in the chat box, RFF just saying, you know, if the Chiefs play like this every week, it's going to be a tough season for any of their opponents. And I can believe it. You know, they only allowed 47 rushing yards, and then they put up 200 passing yards and 237 rushing yards against the Texans. So,
this is the thing I thought interesting about that game. Craig came over with amazing hype from multiple people that have been in the league for a few seasons, and to put up how many rushing yards was it? Let me pull it up. He had 159 yards on 13 carries with Jamal Charles against the Houston Texans front seven.
Shit,
Ridiculous.
Really?
He actually ended up giving Now Davis 16 carries, and he also got 69 yards. The Chiefs basically, it seems, could just run at will against one of the arguably most dominant front four in HaW.
yeah, the score being 35-13 does not really reflect those stats. I mean, you got to give credit to the Texans for not letting that game turn into a blowout. You know, Alex Smith having one interception probably could have put the score even higher, but definitely the 159 rushing yards coming from Jamal Charles on only 13 carries is big. And none of those yards are in one carry. So take that one run away and you're looking at 60 yards. But he would have probably stayed in the game and got those Nile Davis runs that Nile was allowed. So
Yeah, I'll still take 12 carries for 60 yards at a 5 yards per carry average, even without the big run against the Houston Texan front four.
You know, one thing that I got to say about this game that really is, I think everybody should aspire to is, even though he had 13 carries for 159 yards with Jamal Charles, this is a 35-13 game. Now, you get all these people in the league that like to say, oh, well, you know, he just couldn't stop me, so I just kept scoring. But I think this is actually incredibly classy on Craig's part for not just absolutely slaughtering RFF, because I feel like with these stats I'm looking at in front of me, the score could have easily been 50+.
Now, obviously, I will say that there are some things that Daddy Leagues won't show us. Like, we don't know what quarter, when the points were scored. We don't know if Craig could have scored all 35 points in the first half and just chewed clock the second half. So we can't see stuff like that when the points are scored. But I am impressed with him giving that many carries to Nile Davis. I want to touch on the fact that RFF gave Tom Savage the start at quarterback in Houston. I think that's a very interesting choice. He does have Ryan Mallett there, obviously known for his cannon arm, but I think RFF starting Tom Savage is... I don't think I'll make the playoffs season one with Tom Savage at QB.
no, but Tom Savage did have 326 yards on 22 completions, so it's not a terrible day for Savage, and he did find multiple receivers hitting over 8 receivers in the game, so that's a pretty big spread of attack. And Arian Foster racked up the only passing touchdown scored of the game by the Texans.
Yeah, I'd like to touch on another game we had this week, and I want to give a shout-out here to an old, reliable user that has been in HaW for such a long time. I want to talk about the 49ers-Vikings game. Very low-scoring game, one of the One of the most low-scoring games of the week, actually. Heavy defensive battle. 13-3 Niners win. Daddy Blanky picking up a Season 1, Week 1 win, putting them at a 1-0 record here. Looking at the stats, it does look like both offenses struggled. Even with Daddy getting the win, Colin Kaepernick did throw 3 interceptions. 6 incompletions total, but half of those incompletions were interceptions. Adrian Peterson limited to 77 yards. Obviously, I would have loved to get 77 yards this week, but when you think AP, you think of the top 5 halfbacks, you always want to break 100. And Teddy Bridgewater, not a very impressive debut for his sophomore year here. I really feel like Daddy is going to get a confidence boost from this and become a contender in what I think will be a very close NFC West division.
Yeah, man, I think the most staggering stat line from that game for me has to be Adrian Peterson being held to 77 yards on 21 carries. I played the Vikings in one of the little preseason tournament before I got really busy at work, and he just shredded me with AP. Man, I'm not the best defensive player in the world, but I gotta say, man, this looks to me like a statement win from Daddy, trying to show the whole league that last season he just got stuck with a bad squad, and of course he got behind the gun on confidence, which killed a lot of people that I think will surprise people this year. But I have to say that, you're right, Teddy Bridgewater, 11 of 23 for 95 yards and an interception, definitely doesn't help his team. But the fact that Daddy managed to hang in there after throwing 3 interceptions with Kaepernick and hold Adrian Peterson to 77 yards, I think that's a testament to how good of a user he actually is.
Yeah, another thing I do want to touch on here is looking at statistic-wise, Adrian Peterson's longest run of the day only being 11 yards, and no passing play breaking the 20-yard mark in the air. The defense for San Francisco just kept big plays out of the game, and whenever you can keep a player to not having those 20-yard plus plays, it's going to hinder their ability offensively. You can play up. And I really think defensively, Daddy Blanky proved a big point with this game. And I want to give credit to Navarro Bowman, who was head and shoulders the leading tackler for the San Francisco 49ers. I know they lost a lot of people, but having one of the best middle linebackers in the game is always going to help against the run.
Yeah, I called, we recall back on our show, I saw my paperwork here. Preseason predictions, I called Daddy Blanky to make the playoffs in Season 1. So, way to start out 1-0 there. Big shout out. Keep it going. So, but my biggest thing from this game I'm seeing is the turnover differential. Someone throwing 3 interceptions and you can't capitalize on the turnovers. That's one thing it goes to show 49ers defense did step up, as y'all touched on. But it also goes to show the struggle that the Vikings had. Anytime I've played someone and I've put up 3 interceptions, they've made me pay for it, and in one way or another, at least once. So, and the 3 points could have come over a turnover, but to have 3 interceptions for your team and only allow 3, that's big. So, big shout out to the defense there.
So I do think we have one more game, Raider, if you want to go ahead and bring that up.
Yeah, my game of the week for Week 1, and this stands out to me for a glaringly obvious reason, is the Bengals versus the Raiders. We got Jay coming in and taking over the Bengals, and obviously Jay is sort of a polarizing figure in the league, but I always thought he was a pretty good user when he took over the Seahawks late cycle for Madden 15. And then you got Troy, who I've always thought is hands down one of the most talented players in the league, who just, I don't know, I'm going to compare him to me in the fact that we both just couldn't ever put it together and finish it, if that makes sense. We both went to a Super Bowl. We both lost. But I'm going to point out right now, Latavius Murray, 23 attempts, 172 yards for a long of 66. No touchdowns, but that is an absolutely staggering stat line to me. Derek Carr, 1 interception, 2 touchdowns, 212 yards, less than 50% completion, but still got the job done. I mean, Latavius Murray, that's literally the story of Oakland's offense, is Latavius Murray. How do you stop that guy? It just doesn't seem like it's physically possible. And obviously this is Week 1, so I'm exaggerating a little bit, but this is my game of the week solely due to the fact that is absolutely amazing. And
Yeah, I
Troy,
mean, Latavius Murray's stat line just incredible, 66-yard long. Now I'm gonna do something different than we normally do. I know we always normally talk about player strengths, but with Troy it's a special case because Troy is basically my prediction to be on the top of the AFC this cycle. And I want to touch on one of his weaknesses this game, and that was his completion percentage. 11 for 27 throwing the ball with Derek Carr was very, very bad. Obviously, I don't know what the story of the game was, but it didn't really seem like either team threw the ball anywhere near good in this game. Obviously, Troy did manage to get the 2 touchdowns to 1 interception, but if he's gonna do what I think he's gonna do, and that's get to the Super Bowl season 1, I'm gonna need him not to throw the ball 11 for 27 anymore.
yeah, got to get that completion percentage up. But here's another thing. I don't mean to interrupt. Amari Cooper with 1 reception for 53 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he was shut down other than just the one long ball.
I mean, that 1 long ball for a touchdown makes a difference, but that's pretty impressive to keep a guy as impressive as Amari Cooper in check. Michael Crabtree with 2 receptions for 79 and a touchdown. I mean,
I played Troy in the preseason tournament, and he rocked my world with Latavius Murray. So shout out to him. If you can stop his run, and Derek Carr can continue to put those numbers up for you, you've got a good shot of beating the Raiders. It's just stopping Latavius Murray, because even when my Philadelphia D that put the Falcons to 23 rushing yards last night,
Whoa.
I could not stop Latavius Murray. So
Let's calm it down from that.
but looking over at the other side of the ball, A.J. Green was 7 receptions for 176 yards with a long of 40. So definitely looking like the Bengals are going to target A.J. Green, which they should. If you can shut A.J. Green down, there's your key to beating the Bengals, in my opinion, just by looking at the stat line for Week 1.
I mean, even in the run game, Giovanni Bernard, 21 carries, 80 yards. He didn't put up huge numbers, but he was getting consistent runs with them. It just didn't seem like Jay was ready for the passing game. I don't even know how much experience Jay has when it comes to Madden 16, but
well, I mean, he did come in short notice and take over the Bengals. So I mean,
with the changes to the passing game, if it's not something you've played with before, you're gonna have a bad time the first couple of games getting used to it.
Man, while we're on the topic of the Raiders, we're going to segue into our next little segment here. And let's talk about big trades and a huge trade. I think a way overpaid trade, especially given his Week 1 production. But
no, I feel like that's going to be a common thing with these big trades, though.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But Jason Pierre-Paul from the Giants to the Raiders for 2 first-round picks. Massive amount to pay for. I mean, Jason Pierre-Paul's a great talent, but he's got to do better than 3 tackles, especially in that loaded Raiders defense at this point.
Well, that's the thing. Speaking as I think a guy who has a lot of defensive line experience when it comes to Madden, when you have that many stars on your line, you can only get so many sacks a game.
There's only so much meat on the table, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So one game, Alden Smith might get 3 sacks, and JPP might just have a couple run stops. But mind you, those run stops, those tackles behind the line of scrimmage can still have a huge impact on the game.
Well, I mean, interesting stat, Jason Pierre-Paul, Khalil Mack, Alden Smith combined for 8 tackles and no sacks.
Well, another thing is that I've noticed is a lot of people are throwing the ball quickly right now. A lot of people aren't throwing a lot of deep balls. They aren't taking dropbacks where they have to let the play develop before they can throw the ball. So getting a sack, you have to have an instant break off basically from the lineman with good speed to get there. But I do want to say that I do agree that the trade maybe was slightly overpaid. I know Fokker was trying to bend me over and take everything from me to get JPP, and I couldn't do it, and I was a little surprised at the 2 first, but Troy obviously wanted to put together a very strong defensive line to commit that much to it, and I think him being happy with the trade will end up meaning if he gets a Super Bowl season 1 or not.
Okay, so you were just talking Greatness, let's go right back to you.
What's your
big trade?
I'm going to take a trade that I think arguably might end up having the biggest effect this season, and I want to touch on the Joe Hayden trade. Now, the reason I'm picking the Hayden trade is because when Horton took control of the Titans, he's already started dipping his fingers everywhere, getting waivers, signing people, and building the roster the way he wants to build it. Obviously, the signing of Jake Long gives him an 85 overall in the scheme, right tackle for him. He actually has a pretty good offensive line down there, and defensively he was lacking playmakers. He had Jarrell Casey and Jason McCourty. So him landing Joe Hayden to pair up with Jason McCourty gives him two very, very strong cornerbacks to defend against the pass. And as we've seen here early in week 1, a lot of people are having struggles running the ball, which means they're going to have to throw it. And when you can give yourself two above-average/elite cornerbacks to deal with that, it's going to be a great day for you. Now, I will say I think this trade benefited both parties. Akudo actually managed to get Zach Mettenberg, who I do think could be a franchise quarterback from him if he wants it. And he also managed to pick up, I think, a first-round pick. I don't remember the exact details at the moment.
Hold on, just keep talking. I can get him.
I want to say I think it's like a first and second, maybe. It was a good deal, though, that gives him the assets he needs to build on a team that needs more depth in the future. While he still has good enough corners to where he can lose Hayden and progress in the right direction. But I still think Akudo is going to have a pretty rough season 1, but he'll have picks to help develop in the future.
The deal was Joe Hayden for 2016 first, 2017 second, and Zach Mettenberger at 77 overall.
Now, this is the thing I don't think some people realize about trading second round, the next year's picks, is next year if we keep with the play sim, obviously I think that depends on patches coming up between now and here though, but if we keep with the sim season, next year's picks will get here way sooner than people imagine, and I still think that this will be a trade that really works out for both teams.
Whoa, yeah.
Another trade that while we're here is we have one on board with us, LaShawn McCoy, who went from the Bills to the Cowboys. And what can you tell us a little bit about that trade? How it was all shaken down there for you, Brenton?
Well, okay, if I'm just going to be honest, my interest in LaShawn McCoy started in a conversation with Greatness when he was talking about this offensive weapon that he had lined up for trade. And I was like, man, he's going to make a run season 1. And I just kept thinking, man, the Cowboys have two weaknesses that I need to work on. We got running back, we got quarterback. Obviously, with the way the passing game is in this, nobody's going to give up a quarterback that was going to supplant Tony Romo, and I feel I got a good chance to at least get 2, maybe 3 years out of Romo. So I went pretty hard on LaShawn McCoy, and end result, I definitely overpaid for him, but I definitely thought that he was needed season 1 for me to make my Super Bowl run, and I gave up Rolando McClain, which I knew it would get Keller baited in a little because he needed a linebacker, and with my legacy player coming in, I didn't have a whole lot of need for McClain. So I traded him a first and a second, which hurts in the upcoming draft, but I made up for it in a couple of spots in weaker. But honestly, I think, LaShawn McCoy's an impact player. He changes offenses. Obviously I wasn't the only one chasing him, so.
Yeah, LaShawn McCoy is crazy good. And I'll go on record. I've said this multiple times to people. I think agility is going to be the best halfback stat this cycle, the ability to make those quick cuts. I think that's going to be key. Obviously, LaShawn McCoy has 99 agility, which is the best in the game, which is why I was making such a strong push for him. I was willing to overpay, so I can't say anything about that. But we all know how Keller gets when it comes to linebackers. He just falls madly in love and can't think of anything else. But it's interesting. I really thought it was a somewhat good trade for you because you're getting one of the best halfbacks in the game behind the best offensive line in the game. So if you can't run the ball now, you'll probably won't be able to run the ball the entire cycle. So I did think that's a good trade. I want to touch on something else that involves that trade, though. the fact that I think Keller, with trades, has now accumulated 6 picks in the first 2 rounds of this coming year.
Which in retrospect is absolutely huge.
Yeah, because, well, this is the thing when you think about the Bills team, is their defense is basically already made. You basically already have a made defense, especially with him bringing over Rolando McClain to replace Kiko Alonso. But offensively, when you think of the Bills, you think, like, they might need a quarterback, but, oh, wait, he's already legacied over a quarterback. So now he can use all those picks to build a strong offensive line or to go out there and find a strong receiver to bring in round 1. He'll be able to transform his team from season 1 to season 2 by accumulating all those picks.
Nobody scout linebackers in this draft is what greatness is trying to say.
One more. I think we got one more trade here I wanted to touch on, and it's a trade that was a little shocking to me. Nick Mangold going to the Indianapolis Colts for a first-round pick.
I wouldn't have paid it. I mean, even if I didn't have my offensive line, never would have paid that much for an old lineman.
I'm iffy on this, and the reason I want to say I'm iffy on this is because when I have simulated seasons, it really does seem like everyone starts to retire around 32, 33 years old now. Like, it's not like last year's Madden where offensive linemen all played till they were like 35 or 36. I'm really iffy. Obviously, Nick Mangold is still a great center. He's a huge upgrade for what Indianapolis had. But I'm just not sure that the first-round pick was necessarily worth it.
Man, what is Nick Mangold, 30? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, let's even talk Madden 15 when you could get. I mean, I think I had Doug Free to like 34, 35 last Madden. I mean, I don't know, man. He's good now, 91 overall. The Colts need linemen, but I mean, how badly do you need linemen when you spend a 2016? I mean, this draft first-round pick. I mean, you're talking immediate results. And I really think that pick could have been spent better on a defender. I mean, Jason Pierre-Paul was on the market. I mean, think Cameron Wake. I mean, if you're going to spend on an aging person, the Colts need defense. And I definitely think that he saw Nick Mangold and just, I mean, maybe just got starstruck, saw money signs in his eyes. I'm not really sure.
This is the thing for me about this trade. If you make a trade like this tells me you're in a win this season mode. Like, you want to get there this season. That's why you're making this trade. Because if you didn't think you had a realistic shot at winning a Super Bowl this year, you can draft a center in the first round this year that you could potentially develop into an elite lineman status. But instead, you're trading for a center that might retire in a year. He might retire in 2 years. But in the end, I'm not sure if it's going to quite be worth it. But I think we've talked enough about the trades. I think we need to get here closer to the end. Let's go to the Week 2 Game of the Weeks, and let's give our predictions on this. I want to touch first here on a game that I think is between 2 perennial AFC playoff teams after this past week, and that's the Denver Broncos and Automatic versus the Chiefs and Craig. Now, Craig has so far lived up to the hype. We've touched on the hype. And Otto, coming in off a struggling game that he won, but where he threw a lot of interceptions. I really think Craig is going to take this game, and I think Otto is going to. I still think Otto is going to struggle until he can figure out the passing in this game. Anytime you throw 4 interceptions in a game, there's something quite not right with your offense, and I'm starting to buy into the hype of Craig.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm not so ready to count Otto out. Call me biased because he beat me in the Super Bowl, whatever you want. I mean, the dude can ball. He really can. He's good. Obviously, he started Alexander Broussard, which I think is a little troubling. I think I would have game planned him maybe for a year. Obviously, he's normal Devin. That's a little tougher. But I think I would have rolled with Peyton. But, I mean, 4 interceptions. I mean, Otto knows he can't do that. I mean, he's talented. He's struggling to adapt to the game. I'm going to agree with you here. I'm going to say that Craig is going to beat him. I'm going to say that Craig is going to beat him in this game, but I'm also going to say that that this won't go on to decide, this isn't going to be the definitive game that says Craig beats Otto every time or anything. I think Otto's going to hit his midseason form, and I think he's going to make a playoff push, and I definitely see him still being a contender. So, yeah, I'm going to agree with you and say Chiefs down Broncos, but I'm going to say Otto figures this out sooner rather than later, and he's going to turn this thing around.
What are some of the games you guys think are going to be big next week?
Man, I went with the Patriots and Bills. It's a big rivalry game anyways. And coming off two top performances from both teams, looking at the stat line, Daddy Leagues estimate the Bills are going to take it 40-29. So, the Patriots put up 50 the week before, and for Daddy League to give them just a 29, but they allowed 48. So allowing that many points and squeezing out a victory in a shootout is going to be tough against Keller and his Bills defense. I'm definitely have to go with the Bills on this. I think their rushing attack is going to be a little too strong. The turnovers, the Patriots took the ball away 3 times and the Bills took away the ball 3 times. So I think it's going to come down to who can force the most turnovers, but I really think that Keller's rushing attack is going to prevail and beat Devil Dog and the Patriots in week 2. And I could almost believe the score being 40 to probably 21, if I take a guess.
See, the thing is, though, is the Patriots game week 1 was against a CPU Steelers team. And there's still a potential that it was super simmed. I don't know if that ever got confirmed by anybody. So we still technically don't know what the New England Patriots owner is going to bring to the table in terms of what he can do on the field. But Keller being experienced and being the same person he's been ever since we've started, you can expect a good run game. Carlos Williams, I don't even know how it's possible this guy got over 100 yards, but I couldn't break 30. But Carlos Williams at halfback broke 100 yards. Keller's defense being Keller's defense. I have a hard time imagining that this will be the same rivalry it was last year with Horton and the Patriots. But I'm not quite willing to give up that this Patriots owner might be better than people are expecting.
Man, one thing that you guys haven't added here so far, and Greatness touched on it a bit with the CPU game, is Keller has a proven offensive formula, and that's ball control. Greatness, you know as well as I do, ball control wins games. And Keller's ball control is top-notch. I mean, he can frustrate you by holding that ball for I would argue that Keller can probably hold the ball for a solid quarter and a half against somebody who doesn't know how to edge that out. And I really think that the Patriots in their, I mean, again, this is a CPU game. We don't know a whole lot, but just from looking, their air it out, score quick, score often mentality versus Keller's defense and his ball control offense. I mean, I don't see any realm where this comes out any more than the Bills beating the Patriots, and it's not going to be a high-scoring game. Keller is going to dominate this guy. I mean, his defense is sturdy. His offense is steady. I mean, he moves the ball 3, 4, 5 yards at a time. Doesn't matter. He moves the ball, and I think that's going to be the deciding factor, and it's going to be a low-scoring game.
All right, Raider, we got what's the game that you were looking most forward to seeing this coming week?
My game is Seahawks versus Green Bay. Moz is fresh off his Week 1 win. I'm pretty sure Green Bay won. I got to double check that here.
They did.
Yeah, they won in pretty dominating fashion against the Bears, 41-7. And I mean, Husker's got a whole lot more to work with this time around than he had last time around. I think he took over the Ravens after they'd been gutted. But he turned that roster around fast, and now he's working with a stacked, I mean, perennial playoff Super Bowl contending Packers team. And Moz is just starting to get his legs underneath him, I think, in understanding that he's good enough to have some success. So I think this is going to be a good game because Moz and Husker know each other incredibly well. They played a lot back in that AFC North. Browns and Ravens, yeah, it's AFC North. Yep. They played a lot, so these guys are incredibly familiar with each other, but they're both on different offenses. So I think this is going to be one to watch. I mean, I'm going to say this is going to be high scoring. Whether either one of them wants it to be, I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I'm picking the Seahawks to come out on top because I'm a homer and Maz is my best good friend.
Yeah, I'll say this game will be interesting for sure, but I think that Maz is still a ways off from where he needs to be mentally and in terms of gameplay. Maz did get the Week 1 win, but it was in a very ugly, very, very ugly offensive game for the Rams and the Seahawks. Maz needs to find his stride offensively. Obviously, the Seattle Seahawks defense is going to be the Seattle Seahawks defense. But if you're going to beat people like Husker and the Green Bay Packers, you have to be able to put up points. And if this game does become a shootout, I don't really think Maz has much of a chance in getting the win.
Man, I hate to cut you off, Husker or Ibo, because I know you're about to go, but I just don't see how you don't pick the Seahawks in a Jimmy Graham, Dominique Arrington shootout. That is Maz 100%.
Oh, I agree. He's got the weapons. No, I'm not questioning his weapons. But let's look Week 1. Dominique Arrington, 3 catches for 20 yards. Jimmy Graham, 1 catch for 20 yards. He has to be able to utilize his weapons in order for that offense to put up points. And I'm still not of the mindset that Maz has the ability to put up bunches and bunches of points. And if it becomes a shootout, I think that Green Bay is going to win it in a dominant fashion.
You know, man, I got to say, this is a trade we didn't touch on because it wasn't huge. It was under the radar. But Green Bay giving up HaW Clinton Dix. The Rams' defense is no joke. And I don't think giving up Sam Shields and giving up Clinton Dix, I don't think that Green Bay has the weapons behind that front 7, I guess, because they got good linebackers. So if Maz can get the ball out and get it quick, Green Bay doesn't have the firepower in the secondary anymore with those 2 guys being gone to stop that offense.
Well, you got to realize Green Bay was safety heavy to begin with. They still got Micah Hyde back there. I'm not 100% sure who their strong safety is, but they've got a decent strong Morgan Burnett. They've still got safeties back there. I will say the Sam Shields trade could hurt, but you also have to remember he legacied over Arsenio Hobbs, who's got 97 speed and 88 coverages. So he's still got a great corner out there to cover Arrington. But I don't see Maz putting up the points. I'm waiting for Maz to impress me. I want him to impress me. But his offense is stagnant right now, and until he finds a rhythm, I don't think he can win any high-scoring games. The last thing we can touch on here, guys, before we get off, we've been on for a while now. I think we're actually over our average. Excuse me. Is you guys actually have a game coming up this week. Cowboys and Eagles. Eagles coming off a heartbreaking loss, obviously, to me. 0-1, like in the prediction thread, thank you. The big thing about this matchup, though, is the LaShawn McCoy trade, the great offensive line, going up against a defensive front 7 that held me an average 100-yard, a normal 100-yard rusher every game to 23 yards on like 18 carries. So I think the interesting matchup here is going to be, can the run defense of the Philadelphia Eagles penetrate and contain the offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys and LaShawn McCoy? So what I want to do is I want to ask each of you a couple questions here. I want to get your point. Is Raider, how do you think you're going to win this game? Obviously, both of you think you're going to win. That's the mindset you should have. How do you think you're going to win this game?
Okay, well, I tried to watch y'all's game to get a decent look at you more than Ibo. I played Ibo 3 or 4 times before we started the league, but your stream was pure shit, so I couldn't really see a whole lot. I'm going to win this game by running the football. I'm going to run the football. There's nothing that Ibo's front 7 can do about it. And on the off chance that he does do something about it, I got 2 words that win this game. Dez Bryant.
You know, that's actually a big thing, Ibo, because you had trouble with Julio Jones this past game. Julio, the first drive, I think Julio put up 70 yards and then was relatively quiet until the fourth quarter. Obviously, you're pretty confident in your run defense from when I talked to you after our game last night. But how do you think you're going to be able to control Dez Bryant, and how do you think you can control the LaShawn McCoy rushing attack?
Well, it's definitely going to be a different look than what I've seen in the preseason. nothing's changed really for my team that he's faced. So it's going to be interesting seeing how I stop him on the run. I know I've done it before in the past, but he has come out ahead every time. So it's going to be interesting if I can somehow shut down Dez while maintaining that front seven. That will definitely be the key to victory tomorrow night, or I'm sure it will be tomorrow night when we play. So, Dez is going to be the main primary target to watch. But I can't forget about Beasley, who had some good numbers in the first week against the Giants. And he also has Terrence Williams as a weapon. So, I've got to watch his multiple weapons.
Cowboys are definitely not short on weapons. You also have to remember Jason Witten's out there. And LaShawn McCoy, actually one of the best pass-catching wide receivers. If you give him a pass and get him in open space, he can take it easily. We've touched on that. Let's flip the coin a little bit. Let's talk about your offense, Ibo, who you could move the ball well for a majority of the game. You just struggled to punch the ball into the end zone. What are you going to do differently against the Dallas Cowboys defense than you did against Atlanta to put 7 on the board instead of 3?
I've just got to finish. I can't get inside the red zone and just settle for 3. And he's come at me many of times with that powerful rush D when I get in the red zone. I've got to figure out how to make little short passes and reads and make sure I don't turn over the ball in a short field situation and go ahead and get the score for the win.
Now, obviously, Raider, you're coming off a pretty dominant performance against the Giants and Fokker. You probably already crushed Fokker's confidence he had for the cycle. Eli Manning was kind of efficient, 240 yards. So there is hope that a passing attack can work against your secondary. Obviously, I've been a big critic. I do think your secondary is the weakest part of your defense. You obviously have a pretty dominant front 7. So are you worried about any of the Philadelphia targets attacking those cornerbacks?
Well, I mean, some of Fokker's stats are skewed to fourth quarter, like trash time. Like, I'm not trying to knock Fokker. He still has his passing connections. Some of those stats are skewed to fourth quarter when I played vanilla cover 2 because the game was over. I mean, there was no. I mean, it was 25-7, and it was just the end of it. He was just throwing up balls and living on a prayer, and he ate me up with Odell Beckham like he usually does in the fourth quarter in trash time, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me. I will agree. My secondary is definitely the weakest spot on my defense, but I don't think it's as weak as everybody likes to say it is. I got Orlando Scandrick leading the pack, and I mean, I don't care what anybody says. He's a shutdown corner. I put him on somebody, and he takes him out of the game. Maybe not Julio, because I mean, obviously he's not Richard Sherman level shutdown, and you don't shut down a Julio Jones. You just don't. I mean, those guys. Good coaches find a way to put.
They're going to get theirs regardless.
Now, I will say that one of the guys on Ibo's roster that has given me fits, even when we played, is Aguilar, because that guy is something else. Aguilar is mostly why I went out and I snatched up Justin Gilbert, who is a bit of a project and may not ever be more than just what he is. But for what he is, I mean, the guy's done more than I could have asked him to, and that allows me to put Byron Jones in the slot, which means he's covering tight ends, and he has a 99 jump, so you're not thrown over the top of him. So I think given some time, my guys will develop. But I definitely will be watching Aguilar, and I will most definitely be watching DeMarco Murray because I would like nothing more than to crush that guy.
Yeah, we can't forget this is DeMarco Murray's return to Dallas. Murray coming off an okay game in Atlanta. The key thing is I think the running attack from the Eagles utilizing all their different backs, mainly in Murray and Sproles. Sproles is one quick, agile little son of a gun. He can do things that just don't look possible. But we're gonna get to the meat and bones. We're gonna end this the right way. I want you guys to give your prediction, final score on this game. What do you think it's gonna be, Ibo?
Unfortunately, I think Philly's going to start out 0-2, but I don't think I'm going to go down without a fight. I've got to get back in the swing of playing users. So I'm going to have to say, in a close one, Cowboys 31, Philadelphia 28.
Yeah, I'm happy you at least added in that you're not going down without a fight, because it already sounds like you might have thrown in the towel. But Raider, let's see how confident you are. Your offense came out pretty good week one. Defense played solid. You've seen what Philadelphia brings to the table against Atlanta. What do you think the final score is going to be, and how do you think it's going to get there?
Man, I'm not really good at this guessing game thing, and Ibo's always played me real close. So I'm just going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to go bold prediction here, and I'm going to say that the Cowboys win 31-10. I'm saying DeMarco Murray doesn't get going, Sproles can't save him, and Aguilar can't save him. I'm gonna say 31-10. We're gonna go bold predictions. Why not?
Nice.
I like that. I like that you're not afraid to stretch a gap. Most people want to say it's always going to be a close game, but that's confidence. And we'll see if you can live up to it. Ibo, if you want to take it over, go ahead and close it out for the day. I think we're good to go.
All right, guys, we will be back. 72 hours from now is Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll be back Thursday night, barring no setbacks. So it's been fun. We've got a lot of information we've thrown at you tonight. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll get some shorter time to keep people's interest. Hopefully we haven't bored anybody. I know we haven't been bored. So till Thursday night, I will see y'all then. And have fun and good luck in week 2, everybody.
2-0, baby.